Pizza! Pizza!
Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today we are going a bit nostalgic. I, along with my older brother, during the late 80s, early 90s, were pretty obsessed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I can remember at one point our entire room was decorated in Ninja Turtles, and recently found out that my nephew has kind of become obsessed with Ninja Turtles a little bit, and I thought, why not kind of bridge the gap and make something a bit that would connect the two. And I was looking online at images to get inspiration, and I recently made a Baby Yoda, and a while back I made a Baby Groot, and I thought, why not make a Baby Ninja Turtle? So that's what we're going to do. Today we are going to carve out of foam a Baby Ninja Turtle. Let's get to building. To start off this build, I'm using some 36mm EVA foam that I bought online at TNT Cosplay Supply. The head will have to be stacked up a few layers, and the rest of the body parts will be carved out of one layer and glued to the body. The first thing I do is cut out a rough dimension of the parts, and then I start shaping it with the box cutter. Once you get the bulk of the foam carved off, you go in and refine the lines using a rotary tool and a low grit sand drum. This takes away a lot of material off. Then when you are happy with the shape, take a stone bit and smooth over the rough texture that the sanding bit leaves behind. Make sure to wear a respirator and work in a well ventilated area while sanding EVA. You don't want this stuff getting in your lungs. Once I'm happy with the arms, legs, head, and body shape, I attach them all together with some contact cement. This will act as a base for me to put all my details on. Then I start adding details on top of this, adding the shell, giving him a little belly, adding fingers, etc. Same steps as before, size it up, cut it up, shape, sand, and smooth it. The shell has some extra layers that I'm adding with some thinner sheets of foam. To get the sizes for the parts, I just drape it over the foam in the area I'm going to add it and kind of eyeball the shape with a Sharpie. These layers really give dimension to the build. I added a small 8mm EVA dowel around the scoots of the shell to add a raised section. This hides the transition between the shell and his body. His eyes are made from just rounded over 18mm EVA dowel rods and then glued on. Then to make his mouth, I carved out a hole with a hobby knife and sanded out the rest of the opening. Later, I went in and added a row of teeth and a tongue. I threw the pizza together pretty fast. I just cut a triangle out of a piece of 10mm EVA foam, added a split 24mm EVA dowel rod as the crust. Then the cheese layer was just a piece of 4mm EVA trimmed a little larger than the triangle, and the pepperonis are some foam kid blocks that I found at Walmart. This part is usually skipped in my videos, but I thought I would show it to you here. Once everything is sanded and ready for paint, you go over with a heat gun and seal it first. This closes up the foam cells, smooths over the surface a little, and keeps the paint from just soaking in. Sprayed everything with various shades of green and then flung a little bit of it on there at the end to give some speckle effect. The rest was just a matter of hand painting with some acrylic paints. I thought it would be easier doing it this way than trying to tape it off. Usually paint rips off when you tape the tape off, so after it all dried, I went back and added some watered down washes over the top to pick up the details, and then dry brushed over some areas to kind of highlight other areas. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, I am very pleased with the way he turned it out. I figured as a turtle fan, of course I had to give him his favorite food, and I used to actually own a turtle back in the day. I had a turtle named Scoots, and when you put his favorite food in front of him, he'd kind of light up and go after it, so that kind of puts a smile on my Baby Ninja Turtle's face, and I thought I did a fairly decent job of making it look like a greasy cheese on the pepperoni pizza here. So foam carving is not necessarily that easy of a skill. It takes a little bit of practice to kind of master and get the shape of, but I kind of like that freedom to carve into it and not have to worry about templating it and all that stuff. So I know that that means for you guys there's not a template to build this, but hopefully you can see that it's not as difficult as you would think it would be. You just kind of have to remove instead of build up the layers. So maybe you'll try and make a baby Ninja Turtle yourself and impress your friends with how adorable yet secretly ninja ready to chop you in your face. Yeah. Maybe you'll get some, and inevitably they're gonna ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them, much props. Maybe he'll share some pizza with you. You want some pizza? Camera!